Okay, recording on the cloud, and I'm just going to position everything into view. Hello out there to everybody in cyberspace. This is Quick to Politic, and let me get in the chair before I
and watch the lamp behind you, right?
Exactly. So, and then I'm just going to shift it over.
Yeah, I was going to do that, but go ahead. Go ahead, Madam Host. Do your thing.
Okay. All right. So this is Quick to Politic, and I'm here actually in the first ever live episode of Quick to Politic that is in person. And we are in a lovely space here with Wayne County Commissioner Tim Killeen. And so hello there, Tim. How are you?
Good to see you, Councilwoman Ernestine.
Good to see you too. And yeah. I do have to apologize to everybody out there. We were supposed to start at 7, and we had a bit of a delay. There was a snafu.
Nobody knows about technical difficulties with the internet. Nobody knows about that.
They don't exist at all. I've never actually heard of that.
That's right.
So we're here in this beautiful setting, the beautiful backdrop here that I love, and live from Harper Woods. So Tim Killeen is the Wayne County Commissioner for District 1. So tell us a little bit more about yourself. Give us a bio, rundown, life history, blood type, everything. Tell us your life story.
I am B positive. I don't know how that works in politics, but I'm a lifelong Detroiter. I was brought up at 2621 Lakewood on the Lower East Side. For the last 30 years, I've been over in the 7 Mile Kelly neighborhood. I bought a house over there when I took a teaching job at Denby, and taught science at Denby for like 14 years. Lost my mind, ran for political office, and now I've been a commissioner for, I think it's 14 years, if I count them up. Or I guess coming up on 15.
Yeah, so that would be since 2005. Wow.
Yeah.
Okay.
So anyway, yep. But I do have a Bachelor of Science in biology and a teaching certificate, and that's what I was doing at Denby. But yeah, now I've been on the commission 14 years, I guess, something like that.
All right. And it's funny you said at Denby. I went to Denby for like maybe a semester, just kind of, even though I went to Harper Woods, it was also like there were some classes there, like a theater program that, I found a way to, be there. So I didn't actually know that. So interesting.
Yeah.
But
so you didn't take your science there. That's why we didn't see each other.
No. But So tell us a little bit more about, what a county commissioner does, and what does the role entail? Just for the audience out there, for those of you who haven't, heard of a county commissioner, or understand what the role really is, and what are some of the most important aspects of the job of a, county commissioner, particularly with the dynamics of Wayne County. What are some things that, really define what you do?
Wow. The county commission is the legislative body in county government. Mm-hmm. You're a council person in Harper Woods. You have a mayor and a council. Mm-hmm. You have a governor and a legislature. You have a county executive, Mr. Evans, and the Wayne County Commission. Mm-hmm. So we're the legislative body. We pass the laws. We approve the budgets. We do the oversight. I don't know how much of this we can get into tonight, but the county is a little bit odd in how it's structured, different than other. So I have oversight over the county exec, but not necessarily over the clerk, the treasurer, all the other countywide elected officials. Their jobs are stipulated in the Michigan Constitution.
Okay.
So they're more governed by Lansing. In the rules of the Constitution. So like a legislative body, we do our work in committees. I sit on several committees, oversight committees. We just had our audit committee yesterday. I've been sitting on that since I've been on the commission, and right now we're plowing through the external outside audit of the county books for the last fiscal year. And that's going to take us a little while, but we have we manage about a $1.5 billion budget for Wayne County. 2/3 of that are grants that we get from primarily the feds and the state government. We get other grants, but and we run programs. A lot of our health programs are run on behalf of the state of Michigan. They pay us to run those programs, like we do the WIC program, right? And other health. We also work with the state and the federal government, like on homeland security issues, because we're right on a border here. But yeah, we have to manage that budget, and only about 1/3 of the budget are people's tax money, right? Okay. And I think that's one thing people should understand. What am I doing in this job? I'm spending your money.
Okay. So what is it that determines like what you spend it on? Is it like a consensus, or is it like maybe the municipal governments is a big part of the role, going out and kind of finding out what it is that the county needs? Or is that something that is predetermined based on city budgets and things of that sort?
Well, it's not unlike anywhere else, right? The mayor presents a budget to city council. The president presents a budget to Congress. The governor presents a budget to the legislature. So that's up to the county executive, right? And then we digest that and debate it and talk about it. Just given COVID and everything, we're a little late. Our fiscal year starts October 1st. It concerns me a little bit that we're really not going to start digesting the budget till early September. Very short time frame to do this. But yeah, it's the same kind of budget process in Lansing and elsewhere. But definitely as the executive of the county, they get elected to lead. So it's their budget that they put together. We will debate. We will talk about adding this or dropping that. But the budget in the end winds up to a large degree the way the county executive sent it to us in the first place.
Okay. Yeah. All right. Well, thank you for explaining that out there to the folks who are watching, and just want to say to any of you out there, feel free to ask questions.
Please.
And drop a comment. I do see there are a couple of likes, and so if you have anything to say or any questions to ask of Tim Killeen, Wayne County Commissioner for District 1. And so what are some of the cities that actually make up District 1?
Yeah. I'll do that in just a sec, but I also want to, just for future conversation, I also sit on the Government Operations Committee. For a decade now, I've chaired the County Health and Human Services Committee. And it's turned out that Health and Human Services has become the central part of my work on the commission. Because I also have an appointment from the county to the Mental Health Authority Board. We can talk more about that if we have the time. But the Mental Health Authority is a separate from government. It used to be part of county government, but 6-7 years ago, the legislature in lame duck session said, nope, Wayne County, you can't have that anymore. We're making it a freestanding authority. And there was some good reason for that. But I took an appointment from the county executive to that board. I actually had to draft the legislation that unplugged it from the county and started it off as its own. But we spend $830 million a year in this county. It's the Detroit-Wayne Integrated Health Network now, because everything's integrated health, and which is both the mental and physical, and and substance use, and treating the whole person, and not going here for one thing, here for another, the whole person. And of course, that's not enough dollars, but that's a lot of dollars that we're spending across the county on folks that have substance use disorders. Lots of times mental health issues are co-occurring, people that are developmentally disabled or have clinical serious mental health diagnoses. And I also sit on the board, and I'm the treasurer of that board. I also sit on the board of something called Authority Health, which is a real good, not real good, it's a closely held secret. I think our time has come now. We were set up, that authority was set up in the early 2000s by Governor Granholm because it looked like Receiving Hospital was going to go bankrupt in the late 90s. And Receiving is the hospital of last resort for the indigent in Detroit.
Yes.
And so Granholm was like, well, if that goes belly up, what do we do? And so we were created as an authority with the city of Detroit and the state of Michigan and the county of Wayne to deal with the issues of the un- and underinsured.
Mhm.
uh, and I chair that board. But now that we're in this age and working in, well, I'm going to use a modern term, working in this space, but yeah, I know.
That is such a hipster thing to say.
Yeah, working in this space.
In this space.
Well, it makes you sound like you know what you're talking
Yes,
about.
yes, it really does.
But having been involved in these issues pretty much since I've been on the commission, the fact that there's racial disparities in healthcare is not a secret to people that have been working, but it now has finally raised its head.
Exactly, the social determinants of health, are now
Well,
something
and that
people
is
use
the
that
Bible,
term.
the social determinants of health, because it's not just whether you have a virus or bacteria that's making you sick. Are you employed? Do you have transportation? All of these life things play into a person's health. And unless you pay attention to all of the things affecting a person, you're not going to get to wellness, right?
Right.
And so it is absolutely the right way to look at this. And that's where the integrated health idea comes, is you integrate all this stuff together. We have a clinic at Authority Health down on Mac around St. Jean, down in that neighborhood, who has, some of the highest misery index for neighborhoods, anywhere in this country. And now there's a racial disparities task force that the Lieutenant Governor is heading up. We're in perfect position to work in that neighborhood and work with the people. We have to work right in neighborhoods. People don't have to get on a bus to go out to some Beaumont hospital and Lord knows where to get, come to a neighborhood clinic. And I'm also promoting the idea we need community nurses again.
Exactly.
Where people can, from that clinic, can go out in that neighborhood, knock on doors, talk to people. Because, we have such high rates of diabetes, heart disease, obesity, you just name it.
And things of that sort.
Yeah, and asthma. That people need to be seen, get checkups a couple of times a year, right? And of course, people too often wait until they gotta call 911 and go to the emergency room, which is the most expensive and the least efficacious healthcare you can get.
For sure, because
right?
You're not really even going to have the problem solved. It's just going to slap a Band-Aid on
That's
it
right.
and send you
and
back
see you
off
later.
into the street.
Yeah.
And so you did talk about receiving, and I know that I have a few family members who have mental health issues, and it was always receiving was the last line of defense. Or if they were, say, missing, and then we had to find them, they were at receiving because the police found them and took them there.
Well, and then I hope there's going to be more of a focus to shift funding to these, because this is what it's really going to take, right? Because if you're not well, you're going to lose your job.
Exactly.
If you have to miss a couple of days a week, after a month, they're like, see you later, right? And so, it's everything about a person's life. Another thing that's on the horizon is Debbie Stabenow 5-6 years ago got a bill passed in Washington to provide funding, and I don't have the acronym right, it's like CCHBC, but it's community-based healthcare and mental health care dollars. And, she said, and this is true, that when John Kennedy got the mental health bill passed in '63, it was the first big legislation. His vision was that it would be community neighborhood based. And Senator Stabenow, has said this is really the fulfillment of that dream, that we've never got to it. So now Michigan is a state that qualifies for it. And I'm encouraging my executive director down there, hey, we got to go do this, because we can, again, with that clinic, and then we can demonstrate that we need more of those around the city. So I'm excited about the future there. I think we have an opportunity. Windows open and close with political opportunity, right? right now, racial disparities is not even as talked about as much as it was 3 months ago.
No,
right?
and you just kind of look at it in May, and I'm just thinking like this wasn't even an issue that anybody was paying attention. And some of these terms that people are using terms like anti-racism, people are using terms like social determinants of health, and understanding now how those things negatively impact people of color, and how talking about even with the coronavirus, how this is something that I feel like I always have to push people with the misnomer that's saying like, oh, well, Black people are disproportionately catching it just because. And it's like, I think it really needs to be cleared up. It's the fact that there are, underlying social issues and, just issues that African Americans are facing disproportionately. And I think it leads to factors like, living in a multi-generational household, working in a particular line of work.
The list is long for why that is, right?
Exactly.
But if you have gold-plated insurance and you're seeing your doctor on a regular basis and you got that kind of money, it's expensive, then you're going to be less likely, So it's not an issue of being Black. It's an issue of being poor, mostly in America,
socioeconomic.
right? And that's that's the same old stuff raises its head. Exactly. But in order to deal with it, you need governors, presidents, Congress, state legislatures to appropriate money for this, right? Well, it's kind of on people's radar now, but I'm not so sure that 2 years from now there's going to be the same
it's
impetus, and then
that momentum,
right? And then we're back. So my thing is strike while the iron's hot. I think we have a political opportunity here to do the right thing for our citizens.
Oh yeah.
But that window will close. And so I'm very anxious and working on let's get stuff done right now.
Oh, for sure.
So, but that's like you said, that's a huge area of what I'm doing in my work right now.
And I feel like that's one of the areas that needs the most, especially because you talked about mental health. And, for a long time, when we were talking about substance abuse, it was, oh, this is a person's moral failing. And,
right.
And I don't know if you know the numbers, but I know that in Macomb County, there was a huge problem with, substance abuse and the opioid epidemic in, Macomb County. And so I'm wondering, are the numbers about the same in Wayne County?
Oh, I don't know the numbers on that, but and my sense is opioids hit suburban communities more than they hit urban communities.
Yes.
Because you have to go to doctors and get prescriptions and whatever, or steal them. But yes, that is a real big issue. And, we have been kind of lucky here in Detroit with substance use disorder because the providers out there, Detroit is kind of unique that if you show up, and of course, Irish Catholic, I got substance use disorders all over my family. So, but if you show up and you're a drunk and you walk in and you say, I'm a drunk, I want to get clean. In almost every other city in the country, they say, that's great. Your appointment is next Thursday. In Detroit, they say, that's great. Here's a bed. You let that person back out the door and expect them to come back next Thursday for the first appointment, you're losing an awful lot of them.
Because they're just going to go
so
right
we
back
respond
to
right
the same
now,
patterns.
right? But see, all these things take funding. All these things take funding to order. Even the 830 million, we're coming up short.
So, and that's when you bring up this point, that's something that I didn't know that it was that easy in Detroit. Because I know that in the late 90s and early 2000s, there was a decline in, these health and human services where, you have more mentally ill out on the street. You have, now police, and, this is also gets into the discussion over, over policing and police funding and police kind of taking the brunt of everything and doing, every job. So, you started to see these.
I thought it was teachers that were supposed to do that.
It's every public servant.
That's it, right?
Police
and people are looking and saying, you solve all the problems.
Exactly.
Not going to happen.
So, but it's like, that's the thing. I think at a certain point, society was more geared towards, making sure that, okay, we're supporting the people who are out there doing the hardest work. But now I think our society has fundamentally shifted that ideology. And,
well, and with the
crazy.
near collapse of the economy because of the criminal behavior of banks back in 2007, 2008, and it was criminal, right? They took 30, 40 billion in fines altogether from the Fed. Nobody went to jail. And, for JP Morgan and whatnot, 15 billion in fines, we'll write it off over 30 years, no sweat off our back, But the damage that did to government, because, that's property taxes, how we're funded in Wayne County and how you're funded locally. Mm-hmm. And when those go down, local government has a lot less resources, right? Mm-hmm. And so we barely climbed out of that. When we really never really recovered from that. My calculations with a couple of basic assumptions is that Wayne County lost $800 million to $1 billion in those 12 years since 2008, mm-hmm. just of what we could have collected. And now we got COVID, and that's putting a cost on everything. So money is real scarce in government. And this is why the feds have to act to help the states and the cities. But McConnell dismissed the Senate today, so we'll talk about it in September. But one of the funding things, and these are the issues we're talking about.
And I do want to just, before we jump into that, I want to make sure we're still going live out there. It looks like we may be having some sort of connectivity issue. Okay, I think I'm going to have to start it over again.
Oh, no.
And I'm just, or at least check. And
you can tell from your, I guess you're looking at your own Facebook page, right?
Yep. Just kind of seeing if there are questions on all that fun stuff out there.
Okay.
All right. Oh, we are still live. Okay. Awesome.
Good.
So I'm going to encourage all of you out there who are watching to, we have Tim Killeen, Wayne County Commissioner here. And if you have questions, please feel free to, write in, ask your questions. And I am going to also share this in some of the groups that are represented in Wayne County in District 1. So I'm going to share to the Harper Woods community Facebook pages really quick before we jump back into, just sort of some of the national political debates.
Well, can I finish up one local thing here?
Absolutely.
And this has to do with the Mental Health Authority. We have been funding inadequately, but we have started funding 10 years ago, training police officers to recognize mental health issues when they run across them on the street. Mm-hmm. And we've also funded, there are now 5 precincts in the city of Detroit where a social worker goes out on a run with the police. Last year, they went on 1,900 runs in the city, in those 5, which is a small percentage. We need more of this funding, but it's been well received by the police officers to have a social worker out there that understands the issues and what people are facing. We get better policing that way, right? And that's another thing that we have to expand. Is some more training for police officers, and I certainly am not going to put it all on police officers to solve all problems. But it helps them do their job better out there. And we started a little bit, but money in Washington right now with the current administration for doing good things for people, not happening. And Wayne County, or the state of Michigan, has been debating now for 3 or 4 years how they're funding mental health up there. And it's not good. They were driving towards privatization of all these things at one time. And I think we've slowed that down with the new governor. But that is also changing. So where the funding is going to come from and what the future is going to look like. But it is initiatives like this mm-hmm. that through a public organization, a public authority, that we can deal with and respond more to those issues. But I'm glad we started it. We just need to do more of it.
So that actually leads me to, I know that in Harper Woods we had recently, I know our police chief recently brought before council an idea of a public safety commission made up of, just citizens, where there's citizen oversight, where there's also, just more of a community policing sort of initiative. Yep. And, I think in some ways that can help with sharing the burden. And so what sort of efforts on, the part of the county, in what ways do you guys like encourage more of this, or,
Well, that's a little out of the county. That's a little out of what we do. Mm-hmm. The sheriff, and again, that job is defined by the Constitution of the state of Michigan. But mainly the sheriff's job under the Constitution is to be a jailer, mm-hmm. right? We don't do policing as a local police force would think. We help a little bit here and there, but the actual job, when you look at it, is two things. Have a couple of people to patrol Wayne County parks. Mm-hmm. So they help out over at Chandler Park because the county has a water park there. And then the county has parks in Western Wayne. We have a couple of cops for that, but the rest of the job is jailer. So we're not dealing with those kind of issues. Overwhelmingly, anybody that's a sheriff deputy is in the jails and working that. And that's another issue. That's all changing. But the community policing, right? That is the way to go. Detroit's been going more that way for a while. Mm-hmm. My community groups in Detroit love their neighborhood police officers because they got a phone number of a neighborhood police officer they can either call or send a text to and say, hey, this house, or, and so the closer we can bring police and citizens together, the better off we're going to be all over. And this is just true of human relations anywhere. The whole black-white thing in America, right? Not enough white folks know black folks. Not enough black folks know white folks. And so you look at each other, and there's a little gulf there, and I don't really get them, and I don't really. And that's just because people don't talk to each other enough. Mm-hmm. People are comfortable. This is what I think. This is the way I was raised. Mm-hmm. Don't ask me to, reach out beyond that. But that's also true with the policing in the community too, right?
Exactly. You don't know enough about, this group that you're policing, and then therefore you overreact, and that's a part of the discussion. And I know there are other mitigating factors, but that's just one of the things that's easy to actually solve.
And it goes the other way too. Mm-hmm. When the person in the car coming down your block is not just some cop, mm-hmm. but it's like, Julia, how you doing?
Exactly.
That's different too, mm-hmm. right? Now you have a whole different dynamic. And so the closer we can bring police, because yes, protect and serve. And I'm trying to train myself to not call them police officers. They're peace officers. Peace officers, mm-hmm. right? And let's get more of that kind of thinking going. And that's why you need social workers out there on the front lines, and trained officers peace officers. I'm glad to hear that Harper Woods is undertaking some of that.
And it may be a while before we actually see, what it's really going to look like, and, what kind of regulation is involved and what it really stipulates. But, it's something that I think it's a step in the right direction, and
no doubt about it.
It's overdue, and it's.
And this is where citizens need to stay closer to their city council, mm-hmm. and know that these discussions are going on, right?
Somebody actually brought that up in one of the community Facebook groups. There was an initiative that was council wanted to propose, and then we followed up on it, and then the citizens was like, whatever happened with that? And part of me was just like, oh yeah, we talked about it in council meetings, but in some ways, not everybody comes to council meetings. And
that's another big thing with government, right? Mm-hmm. We have responsibilities as elected people, mm-hmm. right? To keep our folks informed. You don't have a huge budget. You can't send out a mailing once a month to every citizen in Harper Woods.
And say we did X,
Y, and Z. You don't, right?
This and this and this.
So
and this,
we do the best we can. We do things like this. Mm-hmm. We get information out other ways. There is a website in the city. Mm-hmm. But the citizens also have to have the responsibility to say, as a Harper Woods resident, I have some responsibility for knowing what's going on with my local.
The accountability too.
That's right.
Just like keep us accountable. That's why we are elected to. We answer to you. We answer to you.
And if nobody's talking,
then it's just like, oh,
what am I responding to, right?
Exactly.
And I tell people all the time, I've been doing this for a long, long time. I'm a former chair of the political committee for the Sierra Club in the state of Michigan. I've been doing this engagement, you know, and I tell people, even before I was elected, you know, if some guy just comes up to me on the street and starts screaming at me, right, you can kind of dismiss that. You know, that's kind of a nut. But if you as a councilwoman get an invite to come to somebody's house that we've got like 15 people on the block that would like to sit around and talk about issues with you, ho, ho, ho. Now you have the input. You can't ignore that. These are not some just crazy person yelling at you or saying some whatever on Facebook, right? And so this is another way that citizens can exercise their power. If the citizens are a little bit organized, right? A little bit, even if it's just a block club in the community that says, we'd like you to come over and have a conversation. When you have a number of interested citizens, you cannot ignore that as an elected official.
Exactly, a well-informed
population. But you got to help me by knocking on my door, by calling me, by, you know, and then you have a much better time, and I have a much better, you know, I'm a county commissioner, right? I got 128,000 people in my district. I don't have a budget to, you know, send everybody a newsletter once a month, you know, about what's going on. Yeah. And so it is these kind of interactions that are so important for people to stay up on and what's going on, because then you can shape the community policing better. Because the more input you get from residents, the better you're going to understand the community, the better program you're going to have as a result. If it's just 6 people sitting around in a room in the back of City Hall designing it, it's not going to be as good as it's going to be with good, solid citizen input.
Right, and you know, you're getting a robust group of, you know, citizens who are going to be able to tell you like what it is that they want to see, and you know, just even thinking outside of the box. You know, I feel like, and I think it's good to encourage everybody, even that person who kind of hangs back and doesn't say much.
Absolutely,
you know, like you're the quiet person. I want you to, you know, if you.
Sometimes they're the best.
More exactly, they're the ones who are going to give you that
That's right.
zinger, that really good idea, that thing. That,
right, or just
why didn't we
unvarnished honesty.
True.
I can take more of that. Yeah, and I hope, and I see it a lot in the district, because my district starts at Connor and the river, and eventually winds up at 8 Mile and Gratiot, and then it comes back down 8 Mile to the lake. So I have a lot of the Lower East Side, Jefferson, Chalmers, the Riverbend neighborhood over there, Morningside, East English Village, Cornerstone, going down Mac, right? And then across the freeway to where I am, so Yorkshire Woods. So about half of my district is the city of Detroit. The other half, Harper Woods, and the 5 Grosse Points.
Okay, no Hamtramck, no Highland.
No.
Okay,
no.
Right.
Commissioner Martha G. Scott would not.
No, she doesn't.
That's her district, right?
Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
It's all right, Martha. I'm only coming to Harper Wood, or now we got the 2 HWs. Exactly. I'm only coming to Highland Park if you invite me.
Gotcha.
But that's her turf. So, you know, that's what I'm responsible for, and those are the people I'm responsible to.
Okay.
Is in that geographic area.
So I do want to get into a little bit more of our questions here. And we do have quite a few folks here in the audience. So if you're out here watching, this is Quick to Politic, and I'm here with Tim Killeen. We're in person, social distancing. So you know,
should we talk another 5 minutes or so and then get other people in on this?
Well, you know, I'm just going to encourage folks to if you have questions, or you know, we're here for you.
Right now we have viewers.
You know, exactly, we have viewers. For a little bit, it was spotty.
Yeah. Because we're sorry for getting late.
Yes,
and I think we should
start.
also mention, in order to do this, Harry and and Jackie Kalajarakis.
Yes, who owned this beautiful space.
And they've been 2 staunch Democrats on the East Side for a long time. Harry's a former president of the Grosse Pointe Democratic Club. And all of the offices that we've had, Jackie's always been involved in those. She's on the board over there. We actually have a very active, the Grosse Pointe Dems are the largest club, Democratic club in the state.
Mm-hmm.
It didn't used to be that way,
I
but
didn't
we
know
are
that.
now. And we're already up doing phone banking,
Mm-hmm.
you know? So I encourage people to drop $25 and become a member. Go to the gpdems.com website and look at all the activities that are going on. 82 days. Yeah, but
Have they been active with the coronavirus pandemic? Or have they switched to most virtual?
what do you mean active with the?
You know,
Is everybody getting sick? Is that what you mean?
well, meaning having events like maybe switching to a virtual format, because I know that there were a lot of.
Oh yeah, we're doing
last year.
everything is social distance
Okay.
now, and that's why we got and we've got some people that have shown up since the November of 2016. Motivated a lot of people, and we have some excellent people that have come in, but that's exactly why we got the phone bank up and running. We most likely will not have a campaign office this year and bring people, but we're going around looking at our precinct delegates, and I'm calling people now so that if it's like, oh, you're in East English Village, you can go to this house to get your lawn sign. They're in the backyard, right? And have a socially distanced office.
Oh, for sure.
Right. And so that's what we're kind of looking at now, knocking doors. To me, this is not the year for knocking doors.
No, and it can be particularly challenging, and I think a lot of people are scared to just interact with other people.
Right. Why would I open my door to a couple of people out there in masks,
Yeah.
And so anyway, the Grosse Pointe Dems are up and very active right now. And actually, the name is Grosse Pointe Dems for historic reasons, because you go back to Paul Donahue in the late 60s, early 70s. I grew up on the east side. The Grosse Pointe Dems could have met in a phone booth, right? Mm-hmm. And when we really got rolling 10, 12 years ago, we get people out, we'd get Carl Levin out to host a fundraiser, and he's like, wow, there's Democrats in Grosse Pointe, right? Mm-hmm. And so people that don't know what's on the ground, we lived off of that for a while, right? You get gubernatorial candidates, oh, there's Democrats in Grosse Pointe. There's a whole lot of Democrats in Grosse Pointe. Grosse Pointe Park is a majority Democratic city. 8 years ago or so, when Martha Scott was in the state Senate, she and I were the first local candidates ever to win outright one of the Grosse Pointes. And I'm getting close. One of these elections, I'm going to have a majority in the city of Grosse Pointe as well. Mm-hmm. And so the Grosse Pointes they're a lot more purple and in some cases blue in some neighborhoods than they used to be. And so, yeah, there's an awful lot of, and I think that's been good at the local level for government there too, that there is now more representation of the broad population that's in Grosse Pointe. And I think that's good for government. And it's just like policing, right? If it doesn't reflect, or teaching, if it doesn't reflect the community you're in, you're going to have problems.
Right.
So,
right.
Yeah.
And speaking of Democrats, I do want to kind of segue into what are your thoughts on the Kamala Harris pick for vice president with the Biden ticket? So just give us how you feel.
Beautiful,
so
great, inspired.
Discussions out there.
I don't have enough positives to say.
Mm-hmm.
But as I mentioned before, I've been around this game a long time. I got tired of all these Veep stakes discussions decades ago, where everybody wants to me, it's like the NFL draft.
It is. It
for
really
the 3 months leading up to it.
Contest.
Everybody has an opinion, right? Nobody knows what they're talking about.
Nobody.
There's only a small group within the campaign that really knows what's going on. But everybody's out there speculating, just like the NFL draft, right? And you got all these insiders getting on TV and talking like they know something. They don't. So there's a lot of speculation. And what people should also realize, like, I don't think Whitmer was really ever under consideration. Yeah. But what happens, though, to respond to all of this media stuff, if you're in that small group in the room, you kind of leak some stuff out and give people the idea that something's going on, because you got to feed the media, right? And so, yeah, we got a rumor that they're on the list. Nobody knows who's on the list. And nobody knows, all of this. Well, Whitmer told him, you better pick a black woman. The only two people that know, there's only two people that know what that conversation was.
Exactly.
And neither one of them are talking, right?
I think it is.
So the rest is just all right. I think the Democratic primaries this time showed what a broad, deep farm team we have. There was a lot of excellent candidates, right? But hey, it's politics, so you're running against them, so you say things, right? Mm-hmm. I mean, Senator Harris tore Joe a new one,
that's
right?
One of the discussions that I think, like, how do you get back from that? Because you were such a
easy,
exact, and he even said, like, go easy on me, kid, when they had like the third.
Well, that's all for show, right?
But that's what I'm wondering. It's just, and I feel like I've had this discussion with you like offline, where it's how do you come back from, you were this person who was doggedly going after somebody and you were holding them accountable. She was really just holding him accountable. It's like, what do you say now about the fact that you had so many things to say 30 years ago, and then now where do you stand? Well, because we don't know. We want to know.
That's more of the people that are watching. Mm-hmm. The folks that are on the stage have been in this game. Mm-hmm. And so they don't have to come back from anything. Joe understands that she's trying to get votes. And as part of that, if you're the front runner, she's going to come after you. It's the mafia. There's nothing personal. We're just doing business. Mm-hmm. And people that really know this game understand that, right? And the story I always relate, in the household I grew up in, my old man was good friends and a political supporter, a guy named Coleman Alexander Young Jr.
Never heard of him.
Yeah, okay. Well, he served 5 terms as mayor. And I voted for him every time he was on the ballot. But my dad told me the story. Maybe I relayed this to you the other day. WJR used to be the great voice of the Great Lake, and that is what, well, particularly in the white community, but that was the station everybody listened to. And in the mornings in the 60s and 70s was a guy named J.P. McCarthy, held the morning show. And J.P. was huge in this town. So Dad's telling a story one night. He said, I was talking to Coleman, and he called up like a white state senator from Oakland County. Mm-hmm. And said, look, I'm going to go on J.P. McCarthy's show tomorrow, and I'm going to call you everything but a child of God. But after the show's over, I'll call you and we'll talk, right? So people that are serious about this game understand that for political reasons, people have to say things. But if you take it personal, right, mm-hmm. you can't take it personal. You have to have that understanding that they're doing it for this reason. And then it can't be a barrier to you working with that person, right? There's what we have to say publicly, politically, and then we got to get together and get the work done. And I think it's the get together and get the work done is what has been going down. I love Ms. Harris, an inspired choice.
Oh yeah, she's definitely.
But there was a whole lot of
hard hitter.
There was a whole lot of inspired choices that they could have made. Mm-hmm. But on the other hand, this is my ticket. I'm not going to knock it. Let's go out and get it. Because in the end, this is all about 1600 Pennsylvania Avenue.
Exactly.
Not about some case in California 12 years ago that everybody talks about, but they really don't know the particulars of the case. Mm-hmm. And they don't know, and anybody that's been prosecutor for 10 years, you can pick their record apart.
That's the thing. Those are tough choices to make. And this is why, I think prosecutors, people underrate like how important the role of a prosecutor is. Yeah. And there needs to be, just more discussion, and more people need to get into that line of work. More people need to really dissect it and understand, what role that plays in the criminal justice system. But to your point,
if I may, mm-hmm. all of this talk of her incarcerating people, right? Mm-hmm. It was back in the 70s, well before, in the 80s, well before she was a prosecutor in San Francisco, or the AG, the statewide prosecutor. California passed all sorts of draconian laws, the 3 strikes, you're out, So now you have all these laws in. Your attorney general, you just got elected. You stand up and raise your right hand and swear that you will uphold the laws of the state and the United States Constitution. So she has to enforce the laws that are on the books. That is the job. Now, there is some prosecutorial discretion, as they call it, for that. But I think people forget that whoever raises their right hand and swears, they're there to uphold the laws as they are on the book. Now, the laws might suck, but sorry. Yeah, you should have known the house I grew up in. But they don't necessarily get a choice in that, right? And that has to come, just like a lot of the issues we're talking about here, right? Mm-hmm. Cash bonds, right? State legislature has to do something about that, right? So there's a lot of issues. The governor, our criminal justice system, but the individual prosecutor can't necessarily. I mean, they can be a bully pulpit and talk about these things. One thing that didn't come up here in the prosecutorial race: jury composition in this county. It's terrible. African Americans are way underrepresented on juries. So when you're talking about in Wayne County, well, and there's technical issues for that, like where do you get the names of the list of people, right? Well, if you're using the voter rolls to get the names, right? And then people are like, well, maybe we should also use like state IDs and driver's license. Well, not everybody has those, right? So we do have to think about that, but it's fundamentally a jury of your peers, right? And if you can't get that, you have an issue, right? Because then you're going to get some people that are being incarcerated that maybe should not have been, or some people cut loose that maybe shouldn't have been. So that's why you need the but that's just one aspect. We've got a lot of things.